Hi everybody. I've sort of made a vow to share with you things that I found in the American Tradition in Literature 11th edition that I like. So today let's just take a look at their section on Robert Hayden. It's a neat selection of 3 poems, Tour 5, Those Winter Sundays, and The Year of the Child. Notes about these poems here to help me talk about them. I recently learned about the word harrowing and harrowed, what it actually literally means. And I think it has something to do with disturbing something or kind of dicing it up to kind of process it, either for some sort of for purposes of tillage or some other purpose. And I think that the land described in Tour 5 is definitely a land that's been harrowed. The poem has relevance to my recent journeys along the road to the south and then also up to Northfield, Minnesota. The poem is accurate in depicting a harsh brightness and a heat in the south, at least as I have seen it in Tennessee. When Hayden talks about kindling porches, I feel like I know what he's talking about. And brightness harsh as bloodstained swords sort of describes the red hotness of what you see in nature down there when the sun's shining, I guess. It's also, of course, metaphorically very rich. There I've got a typo in my edition. Lawrence Ferlinghetti, that sounds like the pasta inspired by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, deals with the present, whereas Those Winter Sundays and Year of the Child are past and future poems, respectively. A complete summary. But Tour 5 starts with excitement and heraldry, and then proceeds to war and carnage, which is, spooky and necessary, a great poem. The reason I was excited about looking at all these 3 together is that by looking at the 2 that are less anthologized or less known, I might be able to glean some information that could help me in understanding Those Winter Sundays. You sort of dismiss it as already understood before you get a chance to try to understand it, etc.
etc.
And is the poem a thank you? And if it is not actually a thank you, if it isn't the final rectification of that no one has ever thanked the Father, why isn't it that thank you? The verb know here, knowledge, shows up in The Year of the Child in this really great part that says, we know our need of unearned increments of grace. This is really simplistic, but it gave me this feeling of knowing about love's austere and lonely offices means knowing that we have a lot of unearned increments of grace. Which brings us to The Year of the Child, which reminds me of on page 1836, Dwight D. Eisenhower's farewell speech on the military-industrial complex, where he says that he lays down his official responsibilities in this field with a definite sense of disappointment, although happily he can say that war has been avoided. Hayden is writing to this kid and thinking that the kid could be, that Michael Amann could be a poet just like him. Hayden hopes that the child's fresh poetic gaze that echoes his own from childhood when he was a budding aficionado of poetry will help renew the perennially failed efforts to help kids like him. A lot of failures are mentioned in the poem. And I think that the poem, being a poem of failure, actually gets closer to succeeding at being a true poem of hope.